Only one night tucked away from the fun in Philadelphia, and in keeping with what the Republicans left behind in Cleveland, Democrats are also providing America with a wealth of groans, gaffes, and guffaws from what should be solely about the future of America. Top of the leaderboard has to be denial of a fractured convention, what some see as a real miss in not talking about the terrorist elephant in the global room. Then there's these emails that reveal a lot more about those who run the Democratic Party than just whom they want to be the standard bearer in November. What some are calling an obvious touch of racism. Let that bile sit and stew for a moment. Your phone calls coming in. 1-877-Newsmax, 1-877-639-7629. The political animal then kicks into gear. Pit left against right. Allow the fur to fly where it may. From the right, he's the big data and counterterrorism expert, the conservative Muslim pundit, Oz Sultan. Joined from the left by the veteran Democratic strategist, attorney, and co-founder of the PR firm Trident DMG, Josh Galper. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Want to remind everybody, Hillary Clinton is on the verge of knocking down this nomination, of becoming the Democratic nominee. She has 23-15, needed to win 23-82. We are watching, so I may have to break in here if indeed something happens and she gets over the top. Let's come to you first, Oz. This thinking process, and you wrote about this, the racism in the emails that the Democrats have been pushing forward and that came out in the WikiLeaks. I guess if you look at some of these, some people will say either A, how stupid can you be, or B, is some of this a bit of a knee-jerk when it comes to the racism clause? What do you think?
Well, I think the challenge that you've had is that, liberal racism is one of these things that they would like to pretend doesn't exist. And for a long period of time, African-American communities, minority communities at large have said, listen, it's time to move past the handouts. It's time for us to look at what's meaningful for our communities. And I don't think they're quite there yet. Reverend Faulkner, who's running for mayor in New York City, has even said that there's books that have been published that it's time to move beyond this. And that's where I think a lot of this rhetoric gets caught. The anti-Semitic rhetoric against Bernie was just deplorable. And, it shows that they're kind of grasping this whole bucketing of funding that they were doing and not quite figuring out whether it's in violation of campaign finance laws or whether it's even totally technically legal. These are challenges that they have to sort out, but it doesn't really bode well for them, and I don't think it represents them well to the American people.
Hey, Josh, let me throw it to you. Wait a minute. Okay, guys, are we going to go to Philadelphia? All right, hang tight, guys. We're now going to go live to Philadelphia. South Carolina is casting its delegate vote. Hillary Clinton, 23-34. She needs 23-82 to clinch the nomination. Let's go live.
Cabinet secretaries of the 20th century, former governor, former Secretary of Education, Dick Riley.
South Carolina is also home of the Emmanuel AME Church, which has remained strong through the darkest of times, from Digmart Vesey in 1822 to the Charleston Nine and the Emmanuel Nine of 2015.
Home of Coastal Carolina, the National College World Series champion. We South Carolinians have lived by our state motto, while I breathe, I hope. And in that hopeful spirit, and because our Democratic primaries break glass ceilings, South Carolina is proud to cast 13 votes for Bernie Sanders and 46 votes for the next President of the United States, Hillary Clinton.
South Carolina, you have cast 46 votes for Secretary Clinton.
Now at 46 votes, it's 23-80. She needs 23-82.
South Dakota, you have 25 votes. How do you cast your vote?
To win. Here's South Dakota.
Hello, family and friends. I extend my hand to you from my heart with good feelings in our beautiful Lakota language.
From the great state of South Dakota, land of Mount Rushmore, land that brought us George McGovern, who in 1972, the first convention that practiced affirmative action and changed the face of the Democratic Party delegates forever. Half were women and all minorities were represented. we proudly cast our 25 votes, 10 for the Senator Bernie Sanders, who inspired us all, and 15 for the 45th President of the United States, and the first one who will be called Madam President, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
South Dakota, you have cast 15 votes for Secretary Clinton and 10 votes for Senator Sanders. Tennessee.
Now, if our vote tallies are correct,
Tennessee, you have 75 votes. How do you cast your vote?
that should have put Hillary Clinton
Madam
over the top.
Secretary, the great state of Tennessee, also known as the perfect
Because our
36,
current count shows
the
her
state that
with
ratified the
2380, that is
19th
not
Amendment
official.
To give women the right
2382
to vote.
is the necessary number.
Happily casts 23 votes for Senator Bernie Sanders and 50 votes for the first woman president of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Tennessee, you have cast 50 votes for Secretary Clinton and 23 votes for Senator Sanders. All right. Texas.
That should be the number, actually. We have 24-45 for Hillary Clinton, 15-61 for Bernie Sanders. They've not made a big deal about it on the convention floor. But ladies and gentlemen, you have just seen history made. Hillary Clinton is the Democratic nominee, the first female of a major American political party to be the nominee for President of the United States. I know that this is going to really sit in the craw of a whole lot of people here, but the numbers now show 24-45. She has clinched the number to win the nomination for the Democratic shot at the presidency. All right, Josh, I've only got a couple of minutes left. I got to bring you in here. I know that there's a lot of celebrating for Democrats at this point. You knew this was coming. But Josh, you know I'm going to ask you the question here. Her unfavorability ratings are higher now than they've ever been. She's only 2 points better than Donald Trump at this point. There's all the talk about the different things, that the shenanigans, if you will, in the DNC. There's all talk about her past. There's talk about so many things. And even the Bernie Sanders voters are not completely convinced that they want Hillary Clinton to be their president. Should you really be celebrating right now?
Look, I'll always remember I was in this chair when it happened, so thank you, Ed. But yes, this is a huge reason to celebrate. She's the most qualified person ever to run for president. She does happen to be a woman, and I think when you talk about where she is in the polls, you're talking about a hangover of the convention from last week for the Republicans. I think you will see a similar type of bump coming for the Democrats at the end of this week. You're seeing a convention that's not just talking to the base and trying to keep the base together. You're talking about people at the convention who are reaching out beyond the base to talk to people in the Rust Belt where
but
we
Josh,
have to get
I got to stop you for a
votes.
second. I know you're excited, but people still don't like her and still don't trust her. Her unfavorability ratings are so high. You still haven't answered the question. Even the Bernie people don't want to vote for her. They can't stand her.
I take issue with the idea that the Bernie people don't want to vote for her and can't stand her. I think you're definitely seeing debate and impassioned people at the convention. At the end of the day, I think you can hardly see them voting for Trump, whose negatives are even higher than Secretary Clinton's.
Not by much. That's the point I'm making. And you are right, but not by much. Only 2 points in the latest poll. I only got 60 seconds left. We had to bring everybody in that because that was a piece of history. So, Oz, briefly, your reaction then. Hillary Clinton is in. Clinton versus Trump. Here comes the battle.
I'd like to say congratulations to former Secretary Clinton and being the first female nominee of a major party. But that sort of said, the negatives have really abounded. She destabilized Libya and basically created a breeding ground for ISIS and extremism. She hasn't necessarily performed as the Secretary of State, and so why would you give her the varsity role? And her policies are challenging. You know, she won't necessarily be doing the best for startups. She won't necessarily be doing the best for America. And the challenge that a lot of small businesses are looking at is if she pushes a mandatory minimum wage, they may not be able to afford to pay the people that they need to hire. So it's a big challenge for America. What do we do next?
Well, I think that's the point,
of,
Oz. I mean, that's the point. I'm out of time, unfortunately, but you're right. What do we do next? Because we are looking at an election where more people than ever before are saying, I got to hold my nose and vote here, or I got to hold my nose and vote this way. But the battle is finally joined. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. Here comes November. Gentlemen, thanks for hanging with us, but look at it this way. You got to be a part of history. Josh Galper and Oz Sultan, thanks so much for being here. The place where few would ever think a terrorist attack could occur and where a new reality rears its ugly head. That's coming up next, and we continue right here on The Hardline.